Hello people, welcome to Choco Millionaire. So yesterday, IRCC, which is Canada's immigration, made an announcement, and the announcement says that certain foreign nationals who are currently in Canada on temporary work permits may be able to extend their work permits. So I'm going to go ahead and read that aspect for you from their website. I've already included the link in the description box. So please take a moment to look at the description box of this particular video title underneath it and then read it for yourself. The title here says temporary public policy. Temporary public policy. So temporary public policy to facilitate work permits. Temporary public policy to facilitate work permits for prospective provincial nominee program candidates. All right, and it goes on, to read. The background says the department is focused on recalibrating the temporary residents to permanent resident ratio in Canada, including by supporting provinces and territories in transitioning eligible temporary residents via the provincial nominee programs. Within the existing groups of temporary residents in Canada, a plethora of strong provincial nominee program candidates can be found in their times as... Everybody take them to the interview, please. Okay. Sorry about that. Within the existing group of temporary residents in Canada, a plethora of strong provincial nominee program candidates can be found in their times as temporary residents. These workers have the opportunity to demonstrate their ability to establish themselves economically and develop community roots. To reinforce the department's priority of transitioning a greater portion of current temporary residents to permanent residency, the department proposes to facilitate access to open work permits to this population via a time-limited public policy. This population will be supported by their province or territory of residence as provincial nominee program candidates and will be issued letters to this effect by their respective province or territory. Skilled workers already filling critical labor market needs in Canada will be retained and provided a more certain pathway to permanent residency. All right, public policy consideration, and then they cite a bunch of things here. Now there are some conditions for eligibility. Based on the public policy considerations, delegated officers may grant to a foreign national an exemption from the requirement of the regulations identified below if the foreign nationals meet the following conditions. Number one, the foreign national A holds a valid work permit, B has submitted an application for a new work permit under Section 200 of the regulations, and C has provided with the application referred to in B a support letter issued by the provincial or territorial authority of the jurisdictions in which the foreign national resides, and that the authority has signed a letter of intent with IRCC setting out its role in supporting facilitation under this public policy. And number two, outlining that the foreign national has been screened by the said provincial or territorial authority and has been placed in an expression of interest pool or is in the provincial or territorial authority's application inventory process for determining eligibility under the provincial nominee program. And finally, a letter of employment from the foreign national's current employer, or number two, the foreign national held a valid work permit on. So criteria number one gave some subsets of conditions that you must meet. This is criteria number two. The foreign national held a valid work permit on May 7th, 2024, but the permit has since expired. B has submitted an application for a new work permit under Section 200 of the regulations. 2, or II, an extension of the authorization to remain in Canada as a temporary resident under Section 181 of the regulations, or or restoration of their temporary residence status under Section 1A2 of the regulation, and C, has provided with the application referred to in B a support letter which has been issued by the provincial or territorial authority of the jurisdiction in which the foreign national resides, and that authority has signed letter of intent with IRCC setting out its role in supporting facilitation under this public policy. And number two, outlining the foreign national has been screened by the said blah 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 blah. Then it continues and continues. Then the third one, the foreign national was authorized to work pursuant to paragraph blah 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 of the regulations on May 7, 2024, and their work permit extension application remains pending or was approved. B, has submitted an application for a new work permit under Section 200, and then it continues and continues. All right, it's a long. This is the part that we don't like to read because it's very technical, very legalistic, a lot of grammar. Sometimes when you read, your head is spinning you. You say, what are they talking about? Somebody should come and summarize for us. So let me do my best to see if I can understand what I just read. The way I understand it is that some foreign nationals who are currently participating in provincial nominee programs in Canada for permanent residency may be able to apply for an extension of their work permits from now all the way to December 31st. From now all the way to December 31st, you could secure an extension of your work permit. But there are some criteria or eligibility conditions provided. You either should have a valid work permit right now and a valid job offer. All right, so you should be holding a job right now. Okay, and you should also have a valid work permit. That's one of the first conditions there. And you ought to have also been in the provincial nominee program where you have been screened by the province, and they have kind of screened you and deemed that you are in a good standing to actually go on with their process. So the way I understand that is that you may have received or you may have expressed your interest in a particular province by submitting what we call the expression of interest, EOI. And possibly you have gotten some positive response from the province that, some of you may have even received ITAs or invitations to apply for your permanent residency through the PNP route. So those of you who are in this situation and you still have a valid job offer and a valid work permit, you are eligible to look into this policy for an extension of your work permits. That's the first. And the second part are people whose work permits may have expired. So this part is where I think a lot of people who are currently in Canada, most of you probably on the LMI closed work permit, or some of you are on the majority of you are probably on postgraduate work permit or different types of open work permits, and you are in PMP pools, or you've been invited, or you've received an ITA, or you've submitted your EOI, your expression of interest, and all of that. You should look at this policy, read it for yourself, and then determine if you are eligible for it. All right, if your work permit actually expired by May 7th, okay, if you held a valid work permit which expired as of May 7th, and you can provide what they call a support letter from the province or territory you reside, or the province or territory where you are actually doing your PMP, you could potentially actually apply for this extension of the work permit. It's not a really long extension. It looks to me that it is just for a few months, and it's supposed to help you get over the line and get your permanent residency. Is it what a lot of people are looking for? I don't think so. There are actually so many people in Canada right now. Most of them are postgraduate work permit holders from 1-year programs, okay? People who did 1-year studies and only got 1-year postgraduate work permits, who have their work permits expiring or have expired, and they are in the system run at thousands and thousands of people, and they don't know what to do next. They're stranded, they are depressed, they are worried. There are rumors that some may even be deported. To be honest, if you are not in the express entry pool or PMP pool, and you're on a postgraduate work permit, or you're eligible, this is probably another reason for you to be in the pool. All right. I spoke with somebody yesterday, actually met the person, and this person was in a similar situation, work permit about to expire, just less than a month for the work permit to expire, postgraduate work permit of 1 year. And they were too worried, how do we get our PR? You know, we don't know what to do, blah, blah, blah. But then the person took that bold step to create a profile for himself to be in the PMP pool of one of the provinces, Ontario. And within a matter of days, few days before the expiration of the work permit, the person got an ITA, which means invitation to apply for your permanent residency through the PMP route. Got an invitation, few days for the permit to expire. In fact, the person's permit expired just 2 days ago. The work permit expired just 2 days ago. But he said he took that bold decision by faith to just enter the pool. And by being in the pool, one of the provinces or the province invited him to submit his application. So now that you have received that ITA, even though your permit has expired, because it said those who held a valid permit as at May 7th, all right? Maybe right now your permit has expired, but you're in the PMP pool, and maybe you've gotten an ITA. Good for you. Just reach out to that PMP of your territory or province and then find out how you can actually secure what we call a support letter. A support letter should come from the territory or the province. Use that support letter in addition to whatever other documents you have, blah, 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 right? And make sure you are submitting an application to either restore your status. If you have already had an expired permit, then you are restoring your status. Or if it hasn't expired, then you are asking for an extension. You understand? Okay. Now, check how the very province or territory you are in issues their support letter. It might be different from province to province. Some of this information is on their website. Some provinces like Ontario, for example, on their PMP website, there is also an option where you can actually raise a work form and blah, 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 and submit a work form. And then you can communicate with them and request. If you are in a good standing and you have actually been given a positive consideration or screening by the PMP authority there, you could potentially request for that support letter and then use that to submit an application for your work permit extension. It's not a long one. It looks like just December 31 thereabout, you know, the extensions all the way until December 10, 2024, 31st December, which is just a couple of months, not much, but it could probably hold you. Do I think the IRCC will grant an extension to those with an expiring work permit? To be honest, I just don't have a good feeling about it. When the previous minister was there, Sean Fraser, he did extend it twice. Those who had their permits expired, postgraduate work permit expired, but probably have not applied for their permanent residency or are out of status, Sean Fraser granted an extension of 18 months on 2 occasions, if I'm not mistaken. All right. So that was quite a relief for a lot of people. But when the new minister took over, we haven't seen that. In fact, in December last year, he specifically mentioned that there was not going to be an extension for those who have run out of their permit. And that was December last year. We are almost in September right now. We haven't seen any extensions for people who have run out and probably are not holding ITAs or invitations to apply or are not in the PMP pools. So it doesn't give a good vibe. If you look at the things going on, it doesn't give a good vibe at all. It could potentially mean that we have so many people in the country, probably over 70, 80,000 people who have run out of their work permits, postgraduate work permits, open work permits, closed work permits via the LMI routes, and probably have not gone far with their permanent residence applications and they're stranded. All right. So just be proactive. Proactiveness, in my opinion, here will be, if you haven't taken the language test, probably consider taking the language test now. Without a language test, you may not be able to be in the pool for your permanent residency for you to even get an ITA. You may not be able to submit an expression of interest for certain provinces or most provinces to actually be considered for permanent residence. So consider writing that language test, either the SALPIP General or IELTS General. Please consider writing it. All right. Some of you have written it already and you didn't do well. Please consider rewriting it if you can. Second thing is that when you finish, create that profile quickly and be in the pool. If you need a credential evaluation, please do so. Some of you hold foreign credentials from other countries, or that Canada, you don't have a Canadian education, you need to evaluate your credentials through maybe World Education Services or ICAS or any of the other institutions out there for evaluation of credentials. You may want to start working on them now. You remember I did a video about a week ago telling you that some people in Canada need to be in the pool as soon as possible, because I'm seeing situations where most of our brothers and sisters are running out of their permits or work permits or postgraduate work permits or open work permits, and they have just 2-3 months, or some of them have expired. And then when you ask them, have you written your language test? They say no. Have you done XYZ, your foreign credentials? Have you evaluated them? No. Especially if you didn't school here in Canada. Why not? And you're running out, or you've run out of your permit. Why don't you get these things done? Because without these two things, you cannot be in the pool. Why not? Some of you are scared of writing the language test. That thing scares a lot, because Charlie, sometimes when we're out of school, we just want to go back and be reading again. But the truth is that without doing these things, you cannot get your papers. Only some people may be exempted from this kind of language tests and medicals and stuff, and they are refugees or asylum seekers. Are you one? You are not. You are not an asylum seeker. So it's either you're having a very good plan towards, don't just sit down and run out of permit. Please do something. All right? Remember some time back, I also did a video and I said, if you are maybe an international student, you should consider probably applying for other visas too. And I mentioned the United States is one of them. B1, B2 visas, maybe Schengen visas and stuff. You see, when things go so bad for you, the option could be that you have to return to your home country. If you run out of status and you don't want to violate things yet, you may have to return. Some of you don't even have Canadian visitors visas that can give you maybe a visitor record to just stay, even if you are not working, because you cannot work. It's a visitor record, right? But you don't even have a visitor visa record for Canada. You don't have a visitor visa application in the system. You only had your student visa or your work permit, right? And your time is running out. I did a video and I kind of suggested that, Charlie, maybe you should look into that area. And Canada, there are people that I know who were here, ran out of status, and they were just so stranded, they didn't know what to do. You know what some of them did? I'm not telling you to go and do it though. I'm saying it and I'm smiling. I'm smiling here means I'm actually being serious, okay? So take it serious. Do you know what some people... There is a Ghanaian who was out of status here, couldn't get his PR because some things didn't go well. But what ended up saving him was that he had a B1, B2 visa for the US that he secured. So with that B1, B2, the guy just crossed border, go to the US for a couple of months, take rest in here, figure out things, put in new applications as today. They did the other side of the border where you fly the applications like that online. You see what I mean? Those times a paper application. See, yeah, you fly them like that. And eventually, the Canada one happened to just come through, and the guy crossed back. So in a situation like that, the guy didn't want to go back home. It was the US visa that helped him to just relocate to the US temporarily. And then when things were okay, then he moved there. So these are some of the things that sometimes in the old videos we do with it, because we see some of this. Some of you right now, your permits have expired or about expiring. You don't hold a Canadian visitor's visa. That could allow you to even just stay if you're not working. You don't have it. Which way? Maybe you have plans of going back home. Some of you right now, US visa self, you know, apply. You don't get them. Because you've been listening to the excuse of, oh, interview days are not there, 2026. You have not been following us well. Maybe so. You have not been following us well. Yes, somebody came just this May from Ghana, applied for a visitor's visa, so B1, B2 visa for US, got a date for 2026, and was able to change the date or get a date or a favorable date change from the 2026 to 2024 December. How did the person do it? There is information, we just don't look enough. We are lazy. And some of you, comment section is where you used to get all your immigration, and you are everywhere on TikTok using comment section, putting all your problems there. Charlie, you just have to be a bit wise. You understand what I mean? Sometimes you get those answers online when you ask, but most people will not give you some answers publicly. They won't. Even some immigration consultants, they won't even give you some answers publicly. They won't give you. They won't give you. Because there are still some back doors where they no go fit talk them publicly like that, but they go talk them backside. You see what I mean? Because the more they talk them publicly, then the more the people to they see say. You understand? People they so some things if you behind the same way the consultant they go tell you say do this way or this. They don't tell you. Some ways they no go here for comment section. So those of you where they use comment section, they try to get your research. Maybe try consulting the right people there. Book a session with a consultant or somewhere and see whether they can listen to you properly. You know what I mean? Not everything can. Charlie, they get a picture at it. No be everything where they write for public. No be public where you go they use take get all your this thing. You write some consultant, I no go respond to you. Say no be saying no one respond, but some things they no feel You see what I mean? All right, Charlie. All the best. Be in the pool. Apply for your PMPs if possible. Whichever way, there are many ways. By the way, let me also mention that tomorrow, August 31st, appears to be the last day for you to submit your application, especially if you are planning to use the Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot Program, also known as RNIP. RNIP, which is one way you can get your permanent residence. RNIP stands for Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot Program. Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot Program. This is one of the ways you can also get your permanent residency. Not all of you are eligible. You may not be able to get it. But for those of you who are using this route, I'm here to just announce to you that August 31st, 2024, which is just tomorrow, Saturday, is the last day for you to submit your permanent residence application through this program. Please, if you do not apply by the end of tomorrow, you may have missed out on the opportunity. Some of you are using the rural communities or towns or cities that are participating to actually get your PMP through them. Some of the places that you are using are Timmins. You are using the city of Timmins. You are also using Sault Marie. You are in Sault Marie and you are using the RNIP program to get your PR. You are also using the opportunities from Thunder Bay Community Economic Development. You are also using Okanagan, Northern Okanagan. There are so many. There is Moose Jaw as well. There are so many. There is West Kootenay region. So many rural towns or communities that are participating in this program. Please, it's too late. If you are not participating in this already, it's too late for you to apply. Some of you are already in it. I'm just here to tell you that tomorrow is the deadline for you to apply. So if you don't submit your application by end of tomorrow, you may have missed out on the opportunity. Thanks for watching this. See you on the other side. God bless you. Take care. Bye.